Hey everybody, this is Zach over at The Edge Pro. The video you're about to watch is from our archive of training DVDs that we sell on our website, and now we're just kind of putting them out there for you guys to view on YouTube. If you enjoy the video and you learn from it and you'd like to learn more, obviously you can go and check out all our other YouTube videos, like this one, and follow our page. We have lots of similar content out there. You can also follow us on social media, Facebook and Instagram. And you can also visit our website to view products that are going to be in these videos. Hopefully you enjoy the video and it's got some great content in there. However, we would caveat that these videos are older and have quite a bit of outdated content, and there's some better information in some of our newer videos, and hopefully in videos that we haven't put out yet. Again, we're simply posting this for some historical reference, and maybe you can pick up some tricks, or we say something in the video that is a different way than you've heard it before and you find it helpful. In any case, we hope you enjoy the video and can benefit from it. Thank you guys. Make sure you like and follow.
Hello, I'm Robert Schissel with Nebraska Blades. Bring clipper blades, shears, and knives for restaurants. I've been a sharpener for 22 years and I've raised my family at it. It's kind of interesting. Before I was a sharpener, I was in the food service. I was a cook, and then I was a chef, then I was a manager. So in one form or the other, I've been handling, using, sharpening knives for over 40 years. Now, one thing most people, chefs and sharpeners, do not realize or even consider is that knives are sharpened at particular angles based on the job it's expected to perform. So if you can put the knives at the proper angle, you're sharpening the knives the way they came out of the factory and the way the chef would expect them to work, even though he doesn't know much about angles. The first knife I want to consider is the meat cleaver. Now, this is a small version of the American cleaver. It achieves this cutting force. It certainly has a sharp edge, but it achieves this cutting edge by actually coming down. It will go through small bones like ribs. It will destroy various meat products. It's used with primarily a chopping action. Now, I'm going to show with my hands what I'm trying to illustrate. This would be a meat cleaver, and you can see it's a blunt angle. There's a lot of steel, a lot of material in there, so it can withstand the constant coming down hard on the table. The next knife I'm going to show you is a cook's knife. It has a steeper angle. It achieves its cutting action by actually sliding through the meat, so it can be a much sharper angle. The third knife we're going to look at is a boning knife or a slicer, a much steeper angle. It's used in a different position, and it can have a weaker or thinner edge on it. Now, I'm going to show you with a cleaver and with a cook's knife the actual cutting action. With a cook's knife, the tip of the knife, this area here, is usually resting on the table, and it's a slicing motion. It's a cutting motion. There is some chopping going on, but if you notice the action is actually sliding through and cutting. The surface is not crashing down on a hard cutting board, so it will withstand that sliding. It will not roll. A meat cleaver, on the other hand, is not primarily a slicer. It's meant to whack down, cut down hard, usually with this area up here. So you need a blunter angle than you do the other knives. Now I would like to introduce you to the True Home machine. As you can see, the machine is relatively light and portable. It's easily moved about. When I first started out, I actually took the machine into the units, would carry it in there, set it up on their tables, sharpen their knives, collect my money, and leave. Later on, I had a mobile unit. When I would carry a unit like this, running on batteries and inverters, I would bring the knives out to my mobile unit, sharpen them, and collect my money and be on my way. After all that abuse and bouncing around, the machines remained looking good. They were always easy to clean. They withstood a lot of abuse. As a matter of fact, the original machine that I used 22 years ago is still in service today. The speed or the controls on the unit are relatively simple. You have an on and off, and you'll see a pilot light come on. You have a speed control, and you'll see that there's a black dot that's permanently in the machine. The machine has numbers on it ranging from 0 to number 10. When all on 0, there's no rotation of the wheels. As I move up to 10, you'll hear the speed come up. Most of the knives that when we sharpen them or create the bevel will be doing on the number 7 position. The wheels last longer if you're running at a little lower speed. When we do our deburring, we will be down on the number 3 position. Probably the most important control is the angle control knob. Now the angle control knob actually has a dot on the top, and this is our reference point. It turns either counterclockwise or clockwise. It has 3 positions. It has a red dot, a white dot, and a blue dot. And we're going to point this little indicator to the position we want to be in. Now we're at the red dot, and this is where we're going to sharpen, create our bevel. This is where we're going to make several passes, 2 only, to actually sharpen the bevel that we created up here. And then we're going to come down to the blue dot, and we're going to remove the burr. Now at this point, I'm going to remove the guard. You should sharpen with the guard on. The machine is relatively safe. About the worst injury I've ever had with the machine is I would hit a knuckle or the side of my finger into the side of a stone with it revolving, and it would burn me. But it was never a serious injury. But have the guard on when you're using it. As you see me turn the dial, you can see the wheels move in and out. This is how they achieve the different angles. If the wheels are farther apart, they're going to create a steeper angle, such as a boning knife or a serrated knife. When the wheels are closer together, they're going to do knives such as cleavers or cook's knives. Now, the easiest way, the knife that we're going to sharpen the most often is the cook's knife. There's probably more cook's knives out there. You probably will sharpen 2 to 1 on cook's knife. So we call sharpening the cook's knife the number 1 bevel position. Now to find that position, the easiest way that I have found is I'm going to move this black dot around to the 7 o'clock position. This is 12 o'clock. This is 3 o'clock. This is 6 o'clock. 9 o'clock would be over here. So we're just past the 6 o'clock position, which we call the 7 o'clock position. Now, what we're looking for is just an overlap or barely no overlap of the wheels. This happens to be just perfect. There's just a tiny little overlap but you can see they're just barely touching. Now, as these wheels wear and as you have them redressed, they will change in size. So what you may want to do is go clockwise, check the spacing, make a decision. That's too far apart. That's too much. And likewise, if you would be 2 turns the wrong direction, now the knives are overlapped, and that is incorrect. So go to the 7 o'clock position. Look for that just barely touching. And you may have to turn the dial clockwise or counterclockwise once or twice to find that, where they're just touching. Now we're going to move this black dot counterclockwise to the red dot. And we are in position to bevel the knife. Now our first pass is through the stones. It's going to be 4 or 5 passes to create a new bevel on the knife. And then on the second setting, we're actually going to sharpen that bevel. As you can see, when I move the wheel clockwise, the wheels come together. So it's going to create a new bevel. And when I come down to the blue dot, they came slightly together, and that's going to remove the burr. So let's go up to our red dot in our sharpening position, turn our machine to number 7, and we're going to sharpen a knife. Now I'm going to pivot the machine around where I can reach it, and you can still see the action. I'm going to pass the knife through several times. As you see, as I get near the tip, I start raising my hand. I'm going to follow that curve, and before I start, I'm going to look at the knife. It's going to look dull. What I'm actually going to see is the edge, the flat edge. It looks almost like this edge. It's a white shininess that comes back to your eye. This is greatly exaggerated, but this is actually what a dull edge looks like. It just looks dull. So I'm looking for that, and when I see that reflection coming back to my eye, and I'm going to, if it's really bad, I already say I'm going to make 7 passes or 8 passes. If it's just slight, I may decide to check it after 4 passes. So we're going to introduce the knife. We usually start at the handle, come out and follow it. We can go back up, or we can remove the knife and make another pass. We're going to start the machine. I'm going to make those passes. Now, as I'm moving the knife through the stones, I want to keep it level in this slot. I don't want to move it this side. I don't want to move it that side. I want to stay in the center, so I'm watching that center line. It's more important when you get to the longer knives that you maintain that edge right in the middle all the way back. I also want to make sure that I'm making contact with all 4 stones. If I lift the knife slightly, I'm going to wear more on one stone than the other, and my stones will wear out and I'll get uneven grinding. So I'm watching to keep my blade in their level. It's medium pressure. It's slightly more than the weight of the knife. And sometimes when they get the tip, I'll assist it with a little bit of down pressure, but it's light pressure. Turn the machine on, number 7. Now, at this point, we're going to observe that new bevel that we just cut. And we're looking for dullness. We're looking for this shininess coming back to our eye. This is exaggerated, don't forget. But I want I want a sharp edge all the way up. I'm also going to feel it. It feels very sharp. I can test it on my fingernail. It catches my nail. A dull edge will slide off. A sharp edge, of course, will catch. I'm satisfied with the new bevel we cut. It's this very small, shiny area that you see. That's the new bevel. We're not sharpening this entire area. It's one of the secrets about the True Hone is this knife is probably 2 or 3 years old already, and it still looks like a new knife. This shininess from this edge to here is a hollow grind that came with the knife when it was brand new. As we sharpen up, we're using up this angle, and eventually we'll have to cut a new hollow grind in there. But as you can see, we're just removing a tiny bit of metal. So this knife should last us 8, 9, 10 years. Now this is going out every 2 weeks and being sharpened. We have our bevel cut. We're now going to move our black dot to the white dot position. We're still at number 7. We're going to turn the machine on and make 2 passes, there again following the tip of the knife. What we've done now is put a tiny bevel on that longer bevel that we cut just a moment ago. That's why we only made 2 passes. And a sharpening pass should only take 2 passes. We now have a very sharp knife, but we still have a bit of a burr. We can feel some toothiness. Now we're going to move the machine down to number 3. Move our dial control to the blue dot. Turn the machine on and make 3 or 4 passes. Now we have a perfectly sharp edge. The burr is gone. We have a little bit of residue on the blade. We're going to wipe that off on a cloth. And we're going to give it a little test on this tomato, and you can see it just sliced paper thin. This knife will stay in this shape approximately 2 weeks when we'll sharpen it again. And we wipe it off, put it in a plastic sack, and it will go in its box for delivery. Now, the next knife we're going to sharpen is a boning knife. And remember, a cook's knife was like here. Here was a cleaver, a cook's knife. Now this knife we're going to sharpen even sharper. So what we need to do when we sharpen this knife is to move the wheels apart. So we're at our red dot. That's our number 1 position for cook's knife. We're going to make 1 complete revolution clockwise. End up at our red position. Now the stones are farther apart, and they're going to produce a slightly higher bevel. It's going to be the same situation. We're going to look for dullness, test for dullness, start our machine at about number 7 speed, red dot, make several passes. When I start out with a dull knife, I can actually feel the dullness and the roughness in the knife as I'm pulling it through. After I'm 3 or 4 passes, I find the knife starting to smooth out. I may feel some roughness in this area. This is probably where it might have touched the table. So I'm going to continue to work until the blade is starting to feel smooth all the way through. At this point, we're going to check that edge. We're going to look down the edge again. We're going to check it 2 ways. We're going to visually check it the entire length, from here up to here. We can also feel that we're satisfied with the progress we made. We see no dullness. Remember, that's what we're looking for. We don't see any of that. The knife feels very sharp. So we're going to go to the white dot. The wheels came in, so we're going to put an edge on that bevel we just cut. Two passes only. That's all it takes to put that edge on there. We're very satisfied with that edge. I can see no dullness in the entire length. It certainly feels sharp, catches my nail. We're going to go to the blue dot. Several passes. Remember here, all we did is remove that burr. The knife feels very smooth. Remove the grinding dust. We actually don't test each knife, but we certainly know they're sharp. Now in that same family, we're going to go to a roast beef slicer. Now, this is a nice feature of the True Hone. It has an open end, so this is a 14-inch knife, and as you can see, it extends out. We can sharpen any length of knife that we desire. We come back up to our red dot, speed control at 7, make our passes, keep the knife level, we're satisfied with the edge. We see no dullness. It certainly feels sharp. We're going to move to our white dot, our sharpening position, number 7 speed, 2 passes only. Sharpen that edge, that new bevel. Feels very, very good. To our blue dot, number 3 control. Very good. Remove our grinding dust. And we can see what it does with this tomato. Talk about portion control. Now, this is an advantage using a True Hone machine. If you would sharpen on a belt sander, you have to be awful careful that if I make 5 passes on this side of the knife, I need to make 5 passes on this side of the knife. I oftentimes have seen knives sharpen on the belt sander, and one side will actually be sharpened at a different angle than the first one. The knife still feels sharp, but believe me, from being a chef, when I cut thin, something very delicate or even cheese, a knife that is missharpened will track off. And the cook will look at it and say, oh, gee, what's wrong with this thing? And it's not cutting straight. And believe it or not, a knife that is improperly sharpened will cut crooked. Now, another knife we don't see too often, but we see fairly often. This is called a cheese knife. And you can see it has 2 handles. It's made to be used with 2 handles. It's made to come down on a block of cheese and cut through it. Some restaurants will use this for a watermelon knife, especially this time of the year when a lot of melons are in. You can just come down and cut them up very easy. Now we're going to sharpen this the same as we would a cook's knife. So we're going to go to our angle control, come out to our 7 o'clock position, and as you can see, we have a gap in the wheels. So we're going to go counterclockwise, come around to our 7 o'clock position. There we are, and check our angle. Now that looks fine. So we're going to continue around counterclockwise to our red dot. Set our speed control probably about 6. And we're going to take this large knife and we're going to pass it through the same as we would another knife. As the knife becomes wore down, we may interfere with our handle. So at that point, we just simply flip it over and continue sharpening. We check our angle, our sharpness. We're looking for that dullness. This knife was used very hard. Probably is quite dull. Probably still has a bevel there, but this edge is probably either rolled over or just pure dulled out than the crashing down that it takes. So this knife may take a few more passes through on the bevel position. But then we come to our white dot. Speed control is still down 6. And we're going to make 2 passes to sharpen the edge, the bevel that we just produced. And we're going to hit this end. move our speed control down to the blue dot. We put our speed down to 3. Now we're going to remove that burr that I can feel. To clearly get this up here, we're going to flip the knife. There, our burr is gone, and she's ready to cut. Now, it is very important for a knife like this to remain perfectly flat along this entire edge. When it comes down on a table, if it's missharpened and you hollow out a place, it's not going to cut all the way through, and the cook is going to be mad because he can't cut. He's got to do some manipulation. So it's very important to keep this edge perfectly flat at all times, even as you wear into this area up here. With through hone, that's very easy to do. The next knife we're going to sharpen is a pizza cutter. It's a rotary blade. This is a 6-inch. They come much larger, and some of them come smaller. We're going to sharpen this as a cook's knife because it's held down on the table. A lot of forces use the cut. So, with our control knob set at the red dot, our speed control up to about 7, we're going to turn the machine on and we're going to introduce the wheel. Now, it's important that this wheel is spinning when it goes, as soon as it touches the wheels. If not, it could grind a flat spot in that area. So as you introduce it, make sure your wheel is turning. You may want to be coming out a little bit rather than up in this position because it will spin easier out here. You can move it up and watch for your rotation. A little bit of caution here, especially on the larger wheels. They'll be spinning at a high rate of speed, and I foolishly have put my thumb against it, trying to stop it from spinning so I could check it and cut my thumb. So if you're going to stop the blade rotation, grab it in this area or just let it slow down before you, just slow down a bit. What I'm going to do is look at this angle, this edge, and what I'm looking for is dullness, the same as any other type of blade. I can actually feel the sharpness. And when I'm satisfied that I got that new bevel cut, I'm going to move my angle knob down to the white dot, 7 speed, and I'm going to let the blade make approximately 2 revolutions. Now we're sharp. It feels very, very good. We're going to go down to the blue dot to remove the burr. You always have that burr to deal with. Clean it out. They don't want to get that dust in their food. And make endless cuts. We'll cut through pizza, pepperoni, pizza shell. Make many cuts, but it does dull out and will need to be resharpened. Now, very common knife in a restaurant is a paring knife. Unfortunately, a lot of people using a paring knife is going to use their thumb opposed to it, and they're going to cut in this manner. They just learn to do it that way. I hate to see it, but you know what? You can't change them. So we don't sharpen these paring knives razor sharp, because if they get a knife in razor sharp and they press up like that, they could split their thumb. So we're going to go to a step that's a bit more like a meat cleaver. And to do that, we're going to go a movement counterclockwise. The wheels have come in. We're going to sharpen the same as any other knife. Number 7 speed, red dot. If you find a paring knife very, very dull, which sometimes you use these paring knives for unbelievable things, opening plastic and so on. If you're sharpening and you find a blade becoming hot where it's uncomfortable to touch, you may control your speed control down to maybe 5 or 6. The true hone will never overheat your knife, will never scorch them unless you just stood in one place forever, but you know, rarely, you're not going to do that. We go down to our white dot. We're still at our slow, or about our 6 speed, 2 passes. We're checking our edge. We're very happy with it. We're going to come down to the blue dot. Speed control is going to come down. Make 1, 2, 3 passes. I can feel the smoothness. And that actually determines how many passes I'm going to make. Now we have a knife that is very sharp, but probably still will not split a thumb unless they use extreme force. Now, this is a cook's knife, a 10-inch cook's knife that's been in service for, I'm guessing, 5 or 6 years. Now, I'm going to compare it to a new knife, a new 10-inch. And I think you can see how much has been worn away over the years. Now, don't forget this is many, many years. So, it's another feature we love about the True Hone is that we actually own these knives, and we can sharpen them for many, many years without replacing them. Now, this knife is getting near to the end of its life. It's becoming almost what we call a knuckle buster. In other words, this is dropping down below the knuckles. So when you make contact with the board, at some point you're going to start hitting. So a knife like this, we are going to re-hollow grind it probably 1 more time, 2 more times. In other words, we're going to cut this new bevel up here with a hollow ground machine, and we'll continue to use it. Now, this knife, I'm going to put some nicks in it. I hope I can make severe nicks. I'm going to wrap it with this steel bar several times, and we'll see if we can pick those up on camera. Right here and right here, I have a nick running along there. Now, to remove those nicks, I can't just grind in this spot and that spot. I need to start grinding here and maintain this entire edge. So we got to go deep enough to remove all this. I'm going to reach over and give this knife a couple of raps on a brick to dull it some more, kind of destroy that edge. I'm going to go to my brick, I'm going to wrap it down, I'm going to rub on it. I sure don't want to see a cook doing this. So now we have somewhat of a destroyed edge. I can definitely see the dullness. I can see where I've rolled that edge over. I've actually made a J-hook out of it. A steel at this point would straighten out some of that. That's mainly what a steel is used for. But this edge is so far gone that we're going to have to go to the True Hone and fix this knife. Now, at this point, we want to be somewhat aggressive, so we're going to go to an angle that's even steeper than a cleaver. We're going to come way out here to do some heavy grinding on that bottom edge. So we're going to go counterclockwise. We're going to give it several revolutions. You see our stones have come in. We're going to move this up to 7 speed. We're not too concerned right now about the sharpening position. We just want the stones in. So we're down here on blue where they're the most aggressive. They're as far in as they can get. And we're going to make enough passes to remove these nicks and this damage that I put on this blade. Now we're going to examine the knife from the side, and this nick here is almost gone. This one's still here, so I'm going to have to work this area a little bit more. Even though I'm going to work this area, I'm still going to continue my long bevel, but I will, what I call, finesse this area, and a little bit right here where the second nasty notch is at. This first nick is gone. The second one is almost microscopic, and from experience I know when I go to my sharpening position it's going to remove the last of that. Now I have moved this angle up, so I'm going to move this dial right from here to about a 7 o'clock position. You can see my wheels came apart. I'm going to work on this upper angle. I'm going to strengthen this edge. I'm going to raise this burr up. I'm going to raise this angle up deeper into the blade itself. Probably about 7 passes, 8 passes. Number 7 speed. We have a new bevel cut on there. We're satisfied with it. The edge is looking good. We got rid of that damage. We're now going to go to our cook's position because this is a cook's knife and we want to sharpen it in the cook's position. So 7 o'clock, our wheels are overlapped. We're going to go clockwise. 7 o'clock, check our angle. And I think we can make one more revolution. There we are. There again, the stones are just touching, just barely overlapping in the 7 o'clock position. So now we're going to go back counterclockwise to the red position. That's why I feel finding the number 1 position, the cook's knife, is so important. Once you learn how to easily find that, you can go to any angle, step up, step down, but we always go to the cook's position or our starting position. Now we're going to sharpen this knife as normal. Number 7 position on the red dot. I'm satisfied with the angle. To the white dot. Lead the speed control at 7. 2 passes. Happy with the edge, it feels very sharp. We're going to go to the blue dot. Turn our speed control down. We want to remove that burr. We're going to remove that grinding dust. And we're going to see where we're at here. We had a pretty much of a destroyed edge there, but as you can see, it's cutting very well. It's a durable edge. It will last for 2 weeks to 3 weeks before we pick it up and sharpen it again. Now that we're in the cook's position, we're going to go back 1 revolution to get this steeper edge on this little cleaver. So we're going to make 1 revolution counterclockwise, bring our wheels together, go all the way around to our red dot, number 7 speed, turn the machine on, sharpen this cleaver, create that new bevel. I'm satisfied with the edge. We're going to go to the white dot, still at 7 speed. 2 passes. We're going to come down, take that burr off, turn our speed control down to 3, 2 or 3 passes. Remove our grinding dust. And we're going to see how this edge performs on a tomato. We'll go down to our block here, and you can see it just will cut through that like it should. Nice clean cut, ripe tomato, no one destroying the edge. The final thing I want to show you about the true hone is you will reach a point where you're going to have to replace the stones, maybe take them off, send these in, have them redressed. what I actually do, and I'll show you this in one step, when I'm done sharpening for the day, I'm going to take these wheels and I'm going to reverse them. This allows me to have more even wear. I'm trying to stay on all 4 wheels at once, but in reality you don't do that all the time. So by reversing the wheels, maybe if you sharpen at a large account, you may want to reverse the wheels before you go to the next account. Of course, you would remove the cover, take a 7/16 inch wrench. The wheel over on the left-hand side is the left-handed thread. Now, I'm going to have to back the wheels out in order to get the wheels off. So I'm going to go clockwise. I had to go twice, 3 times. Now you can see there's total clearance and I can slide the wheels out. I'm going to remove my nut, the brass washer, take the wheel off, set it aside. Now, just to be in the habit of always rotating wheels, if this wheel was in there with the hub out, as it was, when I reinstall this wheel, I'm going to put the large hub in. That means I'm always reversing my wheels. Slide it back on, put the large brass washer on, tighten up your nut, and I just usually hold the wheel with my hand, snug it up, and then you're going to go to the second wheel. Set this wheel aside, put on my new wheel. Watch which way this hub is in on this wheel. So on this wheel, the hub's going to come out. I'm going to put it up there, put my brass washer on, and before I make the final, put the cover back on, I'm going to check my wheel clearance. Now, these wheels, when they're manufactured, will vary slightly in width. So sometimes when I bring the wheels together, I may hear a grinding noise. This isn't bad, but it's a little closer than I would like. They're a little close there, this wheel and this wheel. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this wheel back off. Slide the wheel off, take off the second brass washer. Now when you purchase a new set of wheels, you're going to get these little brass spacers, and usually 2 come with the machine. Now you may go for quite a while with never needing one of these, but save these, put them in a safe place, because sooner or later you're going to need one to space your wheels. Now I'm going to put the spacer on first, and normally you should never put on more than 2 spacers on a side. You should make some other adjustments. You put your brass washer on. The wheel goes on, paying attention to where the hub is at. Put the second brass washer on. Start your nut. Holding the wheel. Now, I'm going to check my clearance by letting the wheels come together. And now you can see where that spacer has brought this set of wheels forward ever so slightly. So now I have plenty of clearance that these wheels can freely interlock. At this point, I would reinstall my dust cover. And this is something kind of interesting. This is something I came up with myself. This dust cover has a bottom slot here that can fall out, but I discovered I had a little portable Hoover vacuum cleaner that the upholstery brush just fit in there just real nice. And when I actually screwed this to the body, it held the vacuum in place. So now when I sharpen, I could turn on my vacuum, and I was cleaning up all this dust particles as I was sharpening. Or if I didn't care to run the vacuum, I would simply clean up at the end of the day. But the cover just happened to work out really nice for me, that it kept that vacuum in place. At this point, I'd like to show you how to change the wheels, or the band, the belt drive that goes inside the machine. Now, I've owned these machines for over 22 years, and believe it or not, there was only 2 times that I've ever had to change the belt, that I had a belt break. And it just happened, the last time it happened about 2 months ago. Every time you buy a set of wheels, you're going to get a rubber drive belt. When you buy the machine, you're going to receive this tool here. Now, because I have never had to do this very often, I really am not very good at it. But the machine would be set up right, and you would unplug it, and you can see a slot in the bottom of the machine here, and right here you'll see that rubber belt. It's identical to this, and it goes over 2 pulleys. And you use the tool, get it over the back pulley, and then you use the pulley, or you use the tool shape for it, that you can snap it over this second pulley. I suspect if you have to change them, and you shouldn't have to, but if you had to do it very often, you probably could do it in just minutes. I'm sure the people at TrueHone are very good at it. I actually fumble for 3 or 4 minutes to get the belt on there, but I do manage to get the belt on without much trouble. The machine itself, as I said earlier, is virtually trouble-free. TrueHone makes a great machine. I think on my original machine, I probably have replaced the speed control and maybe the switch. And they will send you the parts, and you can do it yourself if you like. But I prefer that I have backup machines. And when the machine is no longer working or not working right, I just put my backup into place. I send the old machine back to TrueHone. They rebuild it, they check all the parts of it, and I get it back at a great price, and I'm good to go. You do have to remember that sharpening is not 100% profit. It nearly is, outside of your gas money and the investment of the machines to start with, but mostly what you earn, you put directly in your pocket, which is one thing that I've always enjoyed about sharpening knives. Now, we are sharpening at this point about 400 knives every time we sit down. And we're doing these knives in less than a minute per knife. We do have to keep the knives in good shape, and we do cull them as they wear down, and at some point we will re-hollow grind them. One of the things to remember about the machine, the first time you go into a unit or a restaurant, you probably will find the knives in very bad shape, and they're going to take some additional work to get them up to speed. Once you go back the second time and have your profile cut in the knife with the TrueHone, you probably will be about a minute and a half to sharpen these knives. So as you can see, you can go through 10 knives relatively fast. I'd like to thank TrueHone Corporation for making this machine and allowing me to make hundreds of thousands of dollars with this machine over the years. It has served myself and family well. I need to thank my wife, who's been with me all these years, helping me in the office, shipping orders. My 3 kids have grown up in the business. Each of them have taken their turn sharpening, delivering knives, doing clipper blades. I need to thank my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, who extends grace and mercy to me and all mankind. I thank you very much.